newly defining oneself. I think like that particular presidential election, I was in college, I felt very affected by it, and I think it kind of represents a time period where as a country and like politically we were kind of redefining ourselves because we were kind of, you know, at least, you know, I was in college and this was the first experience I feel like my peer group had in terms of being citizens of a country that was at war in that way, you know. So I think that there was that kind of self-definition happening on that track, and so we were interested in setting that as a background to like a kind of a smaller, more personal, you know, often humorous coming-of-age story about a young woman trying to define her own terms and herself within that context, and also just within her life. So, yeah.
Sure. And I think that within that context too, and I think that you know, this is where we can bring your three lead actresses into the picture, that I think that, you know, both from a personality standpoint and just your ability, you know, to draw your characters so acutely and so, you know, richly detailed, I thought was a really, you know, made for a really fantastic, you know, trio of performances. I'm wondering, you know, if you can, you know, talk about, you know, the scripting of that and some of those decisions of, you know, of how to, you know, draw their, you know, personalities, and if you can, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, the experience of working with Mira and her script and, you know, bringing your characters alive.
Yeah, I mean, so I co-wrote the script with Laura Good, who produced the film as well, who can't be here because she just had a baby. We're very excited for her. But, you know, like Laura and I, we always kind of knew we wanted to leave, you know, a lot of room for openness and improvisation with these people. And like, I think all of the people, like not just the three girls, but these two guys as well, were very involved in creating these characters. And we had a kind of a dynamic on set that really supported improvising and really kind of, you know, using the script as a template from which to kind of build new things. And I would hope that maybe you guys could speak to that.
But that being said, I really think that the characters were really defined in the script, and especially KJ for me personally, because I didn't. I saw who she was so much and so clearly, and I think it helped just the process of bringing her to life. And then it was great to collaborate and just be able to throw out ideas, and then like the dynamic with the girls just kind of grew on set and just became. I mean, we're all friends still from this experience, for better or worse.
Yeah, I think that the script itself was, it had a very specific voice. The three characters felt very different and clearly defined. And then once we all met each other, we were in LA, we shot, I think we spent like 2 months together. And we went on a road trip together, and we all just became very close. And I think that there was a lot of room for us to play, and we had a lot of freedom with that, and it just fed what was already there. It's very fun.
Yeah, I guess I would just, I'm going to trip you. I'll trip you. Because we're friends now, that's what friends do. Yeah, I would say, ditto. I think it was really, it's funny to watch the movie, like I haven't seen it for a while, so it's interesting to see parts of it again, like that part where she pops her cherry with the gun. I was like, yeah.
Everybody forgot that part. Thanks for bringing that up.
They're like, they all forgot. And I was like, yeah, guys, huh? Go back to your bed.
When that happened?
Yeah. No, it was a really fun film to make. I think, again, like the script was really solid, and then we got a chance to play and improvise. And it's interesting to see how you get more comfortable, like when you start to know each other as performers, how that can make the circumstances in the situation more comfortable. So like reshoots versus when you're first, starting on your first day, that was an interesting experience for me. But overall, yeah, it was a good time.
Well, I'm glad it was a good time.
Very good. I have a few more questions to ask, but at this point, let's go ahead and take it out to the audience and see, what they think about the film. This is your chance to, feedback to Mira and her crew. The film is Farrah Goes Bang, and we have time for a few questions. And you right there, why don't you go ahead and lead us off? Yeah.
First of all, mad props for having the love interest belong to a Salmagundi of ethnicities. I appreciated that. Secondly, I was wondering if you could expound upon Farrah's link between her cultural heritage and her ethnicity. I noticed, she the sari in a very sexual way, and whenever she's feeling free and liberated, she's like dancing or feeling sexy, and like, you know, when she finally pops her cherry, you know, the sitar is wild in the background. I was wondering if you could expand upon that.
Well, that's just what happens when you pop your cherry. There's a jazz playing in the background. That's just what happens, and this was really more about authenticity. But no, I think, I mean, you know, like, and Nicole can speak to this as well, because, like, again, everybody was really involved in dialogue with us about, like, how much to foreground and background certain elements. And when it comes to that, you know, like, we were very conscious about kind of, you know, having like 3 girls that represented a kind of diversity of experience and backgrounds, but not necessarily having those things be at the forefront of what they were engaged with at all times, which is what, you know, again, I think what we felt really strongly about was not just presenting a diversity of faces, but a diversity of kind of the types of roles that, you know, you often see like an Indian American character in, or a Persian American character in, or whatever. So, you know, when it comes to the headscarf and things like that, we were just being very, like, consciously playful with, like, elements that, like, allowed us to acknowledge their background, but not necessarily make it the focal point of what their kind of main, you know, what the journey they were going on was about, you know. So I think, you know, with the headscarf in particular, that was always kind of a kind of tongue-in-cheek choice, and it did kind of reflect various ways in which Farrah, you know, sees herself. And, you know, a lot of what Farrah goes through is kind of trying to figure out how to feel beautiful and how to enjoy, you know, herself. And, you know, those kind of icons of beauty, when you come from various backgrounds, you have like different kind of you have different tools in your tool belt to understand that. And that's kind of what we're playing with. But I don't know if, Nicole, you would have anything to add to that, but that was like kind of what we were doing.
I don't have to add anything. You said it all.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, it was like those were the conversations we were having about that, you know.
Yeah. Any other thought? Yes. Right there.
Hi, this question is from Farrah. Can you tell us about your experience campaigning for a presidential election, or any kind of research you did for that?
Yeah, I mean, we had friends that actually went door to door. Neither Laura or I did that necessarily, though. Me and Candace and Kieran went door to door the fall after we shot the movie, campaigning for Obama. That was pretty funny to compare the real experience to the movie that we shot the summer prior. But Laura and I did do research. We had friends that went door to door, and we were involved in the campaign in our own way. Through like kind of campus efforts, because we were in school at that time. So we did kind of get like kind of draw certain details from like people that we knew that were doing that, like, you know, the dog that scares Rupa away from knocking on that one door. That was like a very prominent detail that a lot of people relate to us, that you just like end up getting really frightened by people's animals. And things like that. But obviously, you know, we took creative liberties because, you know, more often than not, like, the experience of actually going door to door it can be pretty boring, you know. Most people aren't home, or they're not answering their doors, and that wouldn't make for a very interesting movie. So, you know, like, a lot of the kind of actual encounters, like the one that Rupa has with the woman that tells her to basically F off, you know, that's obviously kind of, there's creative license there, because we wanted to kind of engage that dramatic kind of device of, you know, these girls going into places where their opinions were not necessarily, you know, appreciated. So it was a little bit of research, but a little bit of creative license.